used to be an American car company called Pontiac that went away in 2010. And they tried to position themselves as the cool, exciting car company. They wanted everyone to think that they made the badass cars that the cool kids drove. And as I recall, one of the legendary bosses of the company explained the philosophy. He said that little brother wants to be like big brother doesn't want to be like little brother. What this means is that the 10-year-old kid wants to be like the 20-year-old. He wants to do what the 20-year-old does. He wants to like what he likes. So if your product appeals to the big brother, you're also going to get the little brother because he wants to be like them. So you target your product at the big brother. You target your product at those people who are seen as the cool kids. Because once you get the cool kids, you're going to get everyone else because they want to be like them. Another example is the PlayStation. When the PS1 launched in 1995, it was accompanied by this badass marketing blitz that was clearly targeting the older audiences, the big brothers, the cool kids. Then in 1996, the much anticipated Nintendo 64 came out. But when it came out, it had this kiddie cartoony marketing campaign. It was the corny and kiddie. As I recall, they interviewed a Sony PlayStation person at the time who said that as soon as we saw that the N64 went kiddie, we knew we won. We knew we won. As soon as we saw they went kiddie, we knew we won. Because the PlayStation targeted Big Brother, the Nintendo 64 targeted Little Brother, guess who wins that one? So even though I like the N64, the Sony PlayStation was perceived as the much cooler system of the time. Pontiac tried hard to position itself as the cool, exciting car company. Cool-looking guys who are literally running towards the Pontiac. I mean, look at the imagery here. It's exciting. It's edgy. A police officer giving a ticket to a cool-looking woman who's next to her Pontiac. The message here is clear. These are the men and women we want to be like. Little sister wants to be like big sister, and little brother wants to be like big brother. Not the other way around. The PS1's launch campaign was also mature and edgy. There is no way that these commercials were made for little kids. They were for Big Brother, not Little Brother. Which brings us to AEW. AEW had the ridiculous opportunity to be the PlayStation of the wrestling industry. They had the opportunity to take over. The WWE has been wallowing as this kiddie-ass product with Bailey and New Day and King Corbin. They are 100% a little brother product, which makes them vulnerable in the industry. AEW had the opportunity to swoop in and seize that big brother audience, which would then also bring in the little brothers. They had the opportunity to take over, but they blew it. They completely blew it. AEW had the opportunity to be the Luke Skywalker of the wrestling industry. They had the opportunity to be our new hope. But instead of being that cool Big Brother product, they went kiddie, they went nerdy, they went Jar Jar Binks. They have Joey Janela walking out looking like a moron. They have Orange Cassidy laying around. They have Matt Hardy teleporting. They have Nakazawa shoving his underwear in people's faces. They have Kenny Omega frolicking around. Instead of being that cool Big Brother product, that cool product that everyone wants to be like, instead they went nerdy, they went kiddie, they went geek, which in my opinion is even below Little Brother, because Big Brother doesn't want to be like Little Brother, but neither of them wants to be a little dork. AEW had the opportunity to be the PlayStation, the revolutionary force in wrestling, but instead they turned themselves into a niche product that's for geeks and man-childs. AEW had such a tremendous opportunity. People were starving for a cool wrestling product, and they were willing to give AEW a chance. 1.4 million people tuned into the debut of AEW Dynamite. But AEW blew it so bad with a nerdy-ass wrestling product and putting the title on a 90-pound schoolgirl that half the audience quickly went away, and now they're stuck at 700,000. They blew it. How can anybody say they didn't blow it? Being a mature Big Brother product means adult presentation with larger-than-life characters like Stone Cold, The Rock, and The Undertaker, engaging in cutting-edge storylines that makes you want to see what happens next. But with AEW, it's no storylines or boring storylines like about video games and a marathon of vanilla jobbers flipping around. AEW blew their chance. How can anyone say they didn't? Now, some of you might be thinking, well, it's the fanboys that got AEW off the ground in the first place. They're the ones that went to All In. They're the ones that went to Double or Nothing. It's not like AEW can just abandon them. And my response is, they won't be abandoned. Number one, like I said, everybody wants to be like Big Brother. Everybody wants to be the cool kid. You get the cool kids, everybody else comes along. And number two, in my opinion, if you give these fanboys a badass, cutting-edge, mainstream product, they're not going to miss the nerdy shit anymore. If you give them Stone Cold, they're not going to miss Joey Janela. If you give them The Rock, they're not going to miss Orange Cassidy. If you give them The Undertaker, they're not going to miss Darby Allin. You give them a badass mainstream product, they're not going to miss that nerdy shit anymore. And that's where AEW messed up. Instead of positioning themselves as this nerdy cosplay geek product, they should have positioned themselves as the cool Big Brother brand above the WWE's kiddie shit. AEW had the opportunity to be the Luke Skywalker of professional wrestling, to bring wrestling back. You were supposed to be the chosen one. You were supposed to bring balance to the Force, not leave it in nerdy ruins. You were supposed to be the Return of the Jedi, but instead you're the Star Wars Christmas episode. You were supposed to go Big Brother, but instead you went Steve Urkel. You had one chance to make a good first impression, but instead you went so freaking nerdy that you lost half your audience. You totally blew it, you fools! We talk about getting the next Stone Cold, we talk about getting the next Rock, we talk about getting the next Undertaker, but here's the issue. Let's say you're a wrestling promoter and you want to produce that cool Big Brother wrestling product. How the hell do you do that when almost every wrestler you see is a geek? You know, there's no cool people to hire. When you look at today's AEW roster, WWE roster, Impact roster, indie wrestling roster, like 80% of the people you see, there is no way they were the cool kids back in high school. No freaking way, right? They were the dorks, right? They were the ones who were playing Magic the Gathering in the cafeteria during lunch, and everyone's walking by laughing at them, right? They were the ones who on prom night, they're in somebody's house playing online games with all the computers connected together, right? They're from that group, right? And they make up most of today's wrestling roster landscape. So if you're a promoter, how the hell are you supposed to produce a cool product when you don't have the right personnel? In order to have a cool Big Brother product, you need wrestlers that look like they could be that cool Big Brother. Guys like The Rock, Rick Rude, Goldberg, guys that you want to look up to. But nobody wants to look up to guys like Darby Allin and Joey Janela and Sami Zayn, because they're dorks. And it's not just the male roster, the same is true with the female roster. Like, one of the only wrestlers that looks like they could pull off that cool big sister look is maybe Charlotte Flair. But for most of them, no way, dude. They look like they still have their Pokemon trading cards. Like, if you were a promoter and you wanted to get rid of all the nerds from your promotion, like, 80 or 90% of your roster would be gone. So how are you supposed to produce a cool wrestling product when you don't have any personnel? Remember last year when Eric Bischoff was in charge of SmackDown for like 1 second? Well, during that time, I went to one of those SmackDown shows. So I'm sitting there, and there are 2 empty seats next to me, so I'm wondering who's going to sit next to me. Then I see this big, fat, behemoth neckbeard with a little girl, I'm guessing his little sister, and they're like walking towards me. And I'm like, please let the girl sit next to me. Please let the girl sit next to me. Please let the girl sit next to me. And of course the big fat neckbeard sits next to me. And within seconds of him sitting down, I feel like my nose is under attack. Look, when I talk about these big fat smelly neckbeards, some of you probably think I'm joking. But those of you who have gone to these events know that I speak the truth. So my nose is like under complete attack. Look, these neckbeards, they're always online with their activism. How come they don't care about my nose? Like Mike Tyson recently said, how come nobody cares about my ass? Well, whenever I go to these wrestling events, I'm thinking, how come nobody cares about my nose? The second I saw that big fat smelly neckbeard walking towards me, I knew he was gonna stink, which is why I wanted to sit next to his sister. So I'm sitting there next to this big smelly guy, and my nose is about to divorce from my face, so I make a decision. You see, the warm-up match is about to start. So I decide I'm going to skip the warm-up match, go to the lobby, give my nose a rest, and then come back when the actual show starts. So I go to the lobby, which is completely empty since the warm-up match is about to start, and I'm standing there and I'm eating my pretzel bites when around the corner comes Eric Bischoff walking by himself with his hands in his pockets, looking super lonely, like, I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? Isn't he in charge of SmackDown? The show's about to start. Shouldn't he be backstage being in charge? So I'm standing there holding my pretzel bite, and he walks by me, not even looking at me, like, and just goes around the corner looking super lonely, you know? It's like, even my nose felt sorry for him. But going back to the original topic, what the hell is up with these smelly-ass neckbeards? You know, like, they'll get these expensive-ass hotel rooms where they'll do their podcasts or whatever, and, like, the shower is right next to them, and they're like, don't use it. You know, it's like this expensive luxury hotel room shower that's, like, not used. You know, like, thank goodness they haven't invented smell-o-vision yet. You know, like these wrestling promotions, they do these TV shows with these high production values. Thank goodness you can't smell what the arena smells like. Maybe that's the next step in technology. Right now, people like to do like selfies with their smartphones. Maybe the next step is smell-fies, where people can like send like scents, like perfume scents and stuff. When they invent that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send all my friends the smell of these big fat neckbeards. I'll be like, hey guys, take this. Then all you'd hear is my friends going, ah! Ah!